All right, I think we can get started. If I'm distracted, it's because I'm letting a few people still in from the waiting room. Good morning, I'm Dr. Shane Levesque. I teach at the Academy for Performing Arts, and I welcome you all to the Information Day, the online sharing session, which will give you guys a chance to ask us questions about applying to the School of Music at the Academy. And I'm joined today by Dr. Joyce Tang. She's also in our Zoom room here, as well as Shirley Tam, who is one of our executive officers. So they'll be assisting me as well. And
good morning, everyone.
Morning. And just to let you know, we are recording today's meeting, just for record. So with that, I'm now going to share screen, and I guess maybe I'll just do a little quick presentation at the beginning. A little bit about the school and the curriculum and the resources of what we offer. And then I might pass it over to Dr. Tang to talk a little bit about the admission requirements. But of course, the main purpose for this session today is for you to be able to ask us questions and for us to hopefully be able to provide you with some answers. So I'll now share my screen. It's just a little PowerPoint here. So hopefully you can all see it. It's been a little while since I've used Zoom, so bear with me. Okay, so hopefully you can all see me still and hear me, as well as see the PowerPoint presentation that I'm sharing. So a little bit about the School of Music. We offer two majors. The two majors we offer for performance, of course, that includes Chinese and Western instruments and voice. And our other major is composition and electronic music. So at the Academy, we have these major distinctions. And the head of composition and electronic music, you may know, is Professor Clarence Mack in the School of Music. Now, within the performance major, we have 36 specializations or major study instruments, I guess we could say, and that's across 6 departments. We have the Department of Chinese Music with the specializations listed there. We have the Department of Keyboard with just the specialization of piano, the Department of Strings, the Department of Vocal Studies, and the Department of Wind, Brass, and Percussion. So if you're applying to the Academy, you should be looking at the screen and see your major and your specialization listed. If it's not listed, then we would need to know, because it's not then a major or a specialization we offer. So these are the areas we currently offer in our Bachelor of Music program and the Foundation Diploma in Music Foundations as well. Moving along, I should also mention we have another department, which is headed by Professor Christopher Pack, who I believe is doing the in-person session for Information Day as we speak, and he's the head of academic studies. So for the Bachelor of Music program, it's 4 years long, it's 135 credits, and of course you have to be a full-time student. Leading into the bachelor program, we also offer a 1-year diploma in music foundations. It's 32 credits, and it's also a full-time program. So one of the questions I often get asked at the interview, if you get to the interview round, you will probably meet me again in person. But one of the questions is, well, what types of courses do you offer, and will I get to perform, and where? So I'll just quickly go through some of the required courses you would have as a performer or a composer in the curriculum. Of course, you all will get a 1-to-1 major study teacher, and you'll have a weekly major study lesson, usually around 90 minutes a week. So it's quite generous for your 1-to-1 major study. There's studio class and technique classes across many of the departments. For studio class, we call it concert practice. So each week, all the students in your department will get together to perform for one another and to critique one another. Technique classes for specializations like strings in particular, wind, brass, percussion, and you have your own separate technique classes as well. For composers, there's a composer's seminar where the composers will get together to present and discuss works and critique works. In addition to the concert practice class, there's also weekly department concerts. that are open to the public. There are numerous master classes, usually over 70 each year. And there is a school assembly hosted by our dean, a Music Talks assembly. We have many small collaborative ensembles for you to perform in, chamber-sized ensembles, of course, string quartets, collaborative piano for Chinese music, Cantonese ensemble, the Zheng ensemble, and various others. This is just a little list here. In addition to the small ensembles, of course, there are the large collaborative ensembles as well. We have a Chinese and a Western orchestra. We have concert band and choir and an opera. Each year we do one big opera production in the second semester. What else would you have that's required? Of course, you'll study music theory, and there are courses in both Chinese and Western and tonal and post-tonal analysis as well. Chinese students have their own academic courses for analyzing various Chinese music genres, folk music, narrative song, contemporary instrumental, traditional instrumental. You will take oral perception, which is a very important component of any music student's training. That's your ear, building your ear skills. We do require currently some conducting classes as well. So you will learn how to conduct. And there's a course that's linked with it called Creative Entrepreneurship, where you will start to develop your own ideas for your future, for your career, biographies, your statement for your goals. We have a pedagogy course, which is also required, and different departments have repertoire courses. So things like keyboard repertoire or vocal repertoire. If you're a composer, of course, there's courses in instrumentation and orchestration. Instrumentation is also open to performers as well as an elective. And you'll certainly have a lot of production-based courses for concert production, electronic and computer music, a multimedia or interdisciplinary production is also expected. And if you're a singer, there are specific courses in language, Italian, German, and French diction. Also at the academy, you have academy-wide courses that are required. You will all have to study languages, Chinese language and English language. There's 4 courses. Together, it counts for 8 credits. We also have a liberal arts curriculum, courses like arts and aesthetic, innovation and culture. There's 4 required courses in liberal arts. That's worth 8 credits. And then there are academy-wide electives, courses offered by other schools. So dance, drama, film and television, theater, entertainment, arts, and Chinese opera. And you can choose which 5 elective courses you wish for 10 credits. So not all of the required courses are just in the School of Music. Generally, the focus is on music, but you do have some language, liberal arts, and academy-wide electives to complete as well. And finally, what are some of the optional or elective courses that you can choose? We have a lot of other collaborative ensembles that are sort of style-focused ensembles, like jazz ensemble, a Baroque ensemble. There's a contemporary intercultural ensemble, silk and bamboo music, etc. So there's very style-focused ensembles as well. We have 11 courses in Chinese and Western music history and repertoire. I teach the Western music history sequence, and they're open to Chinese music students as well. The Chinese music history courses are open to Western music students as well. So everything is open, and there's quite a few to choose from. Of course, there's electives in counterpoint. There's also a composition lab and a keyboard lab. So if you're a pianist, but you also want to compose, you are able to take courses for composition. And if you're not a pianist and you wish to take piano lessons, then there is a keyboard lab sequence you can also register for. There's courses in music technology as well, for example, for recording and using notation software. And we even have electives in music therapy. Of course, you're always encouraged, especially in your later years of a bachelor program, you're welcome to apply for an independent study. If perhaps you have your own project or your own idea you wish to develop and receive credit for. Any outside project that you think is of learning value, you can apply for an independent study for approval to count that as credit, especially in the area of interdisciplinary. If you want to work with a dancer or with an actor or with lighting, then these courses can be used in order for your friends and other schools to also earn credit as part of that same project. So you can work together, collaborate together, and all receive credit through the independent study option. And just a few other things you'll probably know about the Academy, but if you don't, we have a 16-week semester, but of those 16 weeks, 4 weeks are devoted to project weeks. So I hinted earlier that we do a complete opera production, usually in the month of March, and that will fall during the project weeks of the second semester. This idea of 4-2-4-2-4 simply means you go to class for 4 weeks, but then you have 2 weeks of no class for projects. Go to class for 4 weeks, then there's 2 weeks again of no class, and then we end the semester with 4 weeks again of classes. You would be very accustomed to performing in the concert hall and the recital hall. These are 2 great venues which you would all get a chance to perform in. And we also have a composition and electronic music laboratory as well, complete with all of the tools composers would ever hope for to produce their works. We have a lot of new Chinese instruments that have been purchased at the Academy in the last few years, since before COVID, including a set of traditional instruments that are copies or models of the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra instruments. We have a lot of new Western instruments as well, especially you might see the new building that's opened right next to our traditional Academy campus. That on-campus expansion project involved purchasing a lot of Western percussion instruments in that particular block. The Jockey Club has graciously donated a very valuable set of string instruments. There's 2 string quartets of original instruments from the 18th and 19th centuries. We have 9 concert grand pianos and over 90 practice grand and upright pianos for you, including Steinways, Fazioli, Yamaha, Kawai pianos. I am also in charge of some Baroque instruments, if you're interested in 18th century instruments and playing styles, especially for keyboardists, if you want to play clavichord, harpsichord, forte piano, or pipe organ. Lastly, we also use Canvas. Some of you might have been using Canvas or familiar with Canvas in secondary school. We use Canvas, the learning management platform, for our online blended learning, and we're supported by Eduit, and the library for developing student resources for the bachelor program. Last but not least, I'll mention that one of the final goals of our bachelor program is that you will have developed an honors portfolio. Some of you are already probably familiar with developing a portfolio of your work, but hopefully you would catalog or capture the best of your work over the 4 years of a bachelor program and assemble it into a portfolio that you can then carry forward into your future. So with that, I am now, I think, going to hand it over to Dr. Joyce Tang, maybe just to speak a little bit about admission requirements.
Sure. Should I use your same PowerPoint as well?
Yeah, I guess I can click for you. Is that?
Yeah, please. Yeah, that would be good. So for the general admission requirement, we have an alignment with all the schools over the APA. So that means if you are applying for the Bachelor of Music honors degree, you will need to have a completion of your secondary school education. We also have a bachelor music program. We call it Diploma of Music Foundation. So it's a 1-year course. And so if you think that you want to have a more foundation, or if you cannot fulfill the requirement for the Bachelor of Music, then you may be asked to study in the Diploma of Music Foundation first, for a year first, before going to the Bachelor of Music. So basically, you need to complete your secondary school education. And so if you have involved in the associate degree or high diploma, you can use that as one of the requirement as the Bachelor of Music honors program. And in fact, we count many different ways to get into the our program. So I would like you to make sure you check our website for all the details. So can we have the next slide, please? Yes, so most important is that in APA, we use English as our teaching language mostly, except for Chinese instruments, Chinese music department. So our English requirement is for music foundation, so level 2. If you have, taking DSE, that would be level 2. For Bachelor of Music, BMUS, level 3. So if you are from overseas or from non-Hong Kong, you may also take IELTS and TOEFL. So for Diploma of Foundations, so the IELTS would be 5.0, and for BMUS, 5.5 or above. So for TOEFL, for DipFound, it's 45 or above. For BMUS, 59 or above. So if you are from mainland China, so you may take your Gaokao. So the English language subject is 90 or above for the DipFound, and 100 or above for the BMUS. So we also accept other standards too, but make sure you check our website. So this is for the English language. How about for the Chinese? So can you please, yes, flip to the next slide. Thank you. So for the DipFound, we require you to have Hong Kong DSE level 2, or for the BMUS, level 3 for the DSE. So for for the Gaokao in mainland China, you may need Chinese language subject to be 90 or above, or for the BMUS program, 100 or above. So other than the languages, we also require other requirements. So for example, if you are sitting for the DSE exam, so for the DipFound, you need to have level 2 or above in 3 subjects. So 3 of the following subjects. For BMUS program, you need to have at least level 2 for the math and citizenship and social development, and also at least 1 other subject. So you can look at the website for details. So these are the general requirements for, across all the schools in Hong Kong APA. So for specifically for School of Music, so there are program-specific requirements. So for example, we will have preliminary auditions. For example, you would need to send your material in. For example, if you are a performance major, for the Diploma of Music Foundation, you need to submit 2 works of your video, of your performance for us to screen. And for composition, you would need to submit a portfolio of 3 composition. If you are applying for the Bachelor of Music, so we require you to have a video recording of 3 works of your own choice. And for composition major, you need to submit a portfolio of 4 compositions. So this is for the preliminary audition. So if we choose you, you would need to go through the final audition. So that includes, for example, if you are performance major, you would need to perform live, and we will talk to you in an interview. And for the composition major, you will also bring your work, bring your portfolio, and then interview and talk to our professors. So apart from this, apart from the auditions, you would need to go through some entrance written tests, including oral, perception, and music theory. So this is for everyone. And if you are applying for the composition major, so you would need to have another set of written exam, including orchestration, arranging, harmony and counterpoint, etc., etc. Okay, so is there any question?
So yes, I guess at this point, we can open it up to questions that you might have, now that we've kind of gone through the curriculum a little bit and the admission and entrance requirements. I'm sure you have questions. Don't be shy. Anyone, any questions? Don't be shy. But you're all right now currently muted on your microphone. So if you are asking a question, make sure you unmute your mic. No questions?
So maybe I ask you guys, so what instrument are you playing, or are you a singer or a composer who plan to apply for APA? Anybody?
Now, of course, if you do apply, you will have an interview with Dr. Tang and I. So this is a good chance for you to introduce yourself. Maybe we will remember you from the application. Well, I guess I'm not going to pick people to speak because I'm not sure. I'm not sure where everybody is situated right now. If anyone would like to ask a question on the chat, on Zoom chat, it's also okay. We can, if you're shy to put your camera on to speak, you can also send us a question on chat and we can answer it together as a group. What I could do, just so at least we still meet for a little bit longer yet, is there is a video that I can share with you of our dean, a recent video produced by the Academy and placed on some social media. We can watch that video. It's just a few minutes long and give you a chance to hear him speak as well and introduce you to our dean. His name is Professor Iñaki Sandoval. And I'll play that video for you now. And perhaps during this time, you'll have a question thought of for post the video. So I'll share screen one more time. I think you should be able to see the video. And I will turn my microphone off now and let the video play.
Oh, Shane, I think you need to share the audio as well.
Sorry about that. Yes. Actually, we can play the video at the end. In the meantime, there are some questions coming in through the chat, which is great. So let's actually do the questions at the moment. And if there's time at the end, we can watch the video. The first question is in Chinese, so I'll let Dr. Tang maybe address that one. The next question concerns on the admissions webpage, the application deadline, stating that it's the 10th of December.
Yeah, we need to check. Let me answer the first question. 如果你哋嘅 DSE 成績唔理想，有冇可以用其他方法入學嘅？其實係可以嘅，咁但係咧就你指嘅唔理想係去到邊度咧？因為我哋最少咧，譬如我哋嘅 BMIS 咧，就需要係係啦，英文係 Level 3啦。 你亦都可以考其他去代替嘅。咁中文係 Level 3，亦都係。咁所以咧就你睇下，即係有其他 option 咧，你可以你覺得如果你 DSE 考得唔好，你可以考第二啲考試，睇下會唔會幫到你啦。咁另外其他嘅科目都係 Level 2啦。咁如果你係啦，即係如果你係咪問呢個即係達唔達到標嘅，可唔可以入嚟？嗱同埋咧，我哋需要，如果你真係演奏得好好咧，我哋都會譬如係 audition 咧，去邀請你去表演啦。咁如果我哋覺得你係真係好好，咁我可能我哋邀請你試下去個 deep found 嗰度開始，跟住你有1年嘅時間去準備你嘅係啦，你嘅其他嘅 language 啊，其他嘅科目啊等等啦，其實都可以嘅。
And
Okay.
yes, I think that second question concerning the deadline, we need to check. That looks like it's probably a mistake, a typo. But we'll check. The application deadline of December 2025 should probably be 2024, not 25. So we'll inquire about that. Thank you for pointing that out. Another question concerning about the final interview or the final round audition, I'm assuming we mean here. And that is usually you can repeat some of the songs that you may have used through your first audition can be included in your final round audition. However, I believe you'd have to check the requirements a little bit carefully by department. You may be required to perform slightly longer in that final audition or prepare more repertoire. So you may need to add a piece or two potentially. But other repertoire that you had previously submitted in the preliminary round can be included in your final as well.
So I'm going to answer the fourth question. Cindy asked about visiting artists. What does that mean? Visiting artists. 到訪藝術家咧係即係我哋教職員以外嘅藝術家啦。我哋每一年都邀請好多嘅 visiting artists 咧嚟到我哋俾我哋嘅譬如大師班啊，或者係啲 workshop 我哋啲學生嘅。咁嗰啲係我哋嘅到訪藝術家。
And the next question concerning the JUPAS system. So the APA is not part, Dr. Tang will correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not part of the JUPAS system. Although we offer a bachelor degree, a university qualification, level qualification, it's a bachelor music degree, and we're not part of the university system. So when you apply to the APA, it is a separate application and it's a separate process. Of course, you also will apply through JUPAS for your alternative choices. If you're pursuing music, of course, you might be looking at a Baptist university or Chinese university. So yes, you need to do both applications separate. And it does mean then, because we're not part of that system, yes, you will get offers through both channels. So you would get an offer if you're accepted from the academy, separate from your JUPAS choices. And and the next question, any plans for school or principal nominations, how many quotas and how to apply? So this, I'm thinking you're making reference to the principal nomination scheme. I believe that is up to the individual schools for that principal to make the selections of the school for recommendation. Dr. Tang, do you have anything more about the principal nomination?
Not for now. I think the information can be found on the website. I'm looking for that.
Okay.
But anyway, if you are interested, you can go to our website. Let me share my screen.
And actually, in the chat, the Academy has also just given you a link to the website for more on the principal recommendation scheme.
Right. Somehow I cannot share my screen anyway. But feel free to go to HKAPA School of Music, and then you will see study with us and then admission. So there are a lot of detailed information there you may find useful.
Joyce, I just made you host of the meeting, so you can
Okay.
share your screen
Great,
now.
great. Let me see.
But if you go to prs.hkapa.edu, there you will be able to find more about the scheme. Aside from the chat questions, which are great, does anyone have a question they'd like to ask in person through the microphone?
Okay, somehow I can't. Anyway, no worries. I believe you can search online of our website. Let me answer the question of the next Chinese question. 用邊個平台去呈交你嘅音樂錄音視頻？係啦，即係我正想係 share 喺邊度，但係其實你應該係可以揾到嘅。即係如果你喺我哋個admission 嗰個頁咧，就見到邊度係online 嘅申請啦。咁截止日期係唔係2024年12月10號？係嘅，暫時應該係嗰個12月10號咧係個 deadline 嚟嘅。
So just to recap then a little bit after your initial application and pre-screening preliminary round, if you do get to the next round, you'll be invited into the academy to complete some written tests, the written tests both for music theory as well as for oral perception. And at that time, you'll also be scheduled for your final round audition, usually within a day or two of those written tests, or at least within that same week. And you'll also be invited for an interview, and the interview could possibly be with myself and Dr. Tang, or perhaps our head of academic studies, Professor Christopher Pack, and any of the academic faculty will be involved in this. So you kind of have two interviews. One will be with the major specialization instructors, the head of the department, and their teaching staff and performance staff. And then a second interview with Dr. Tang and myself or other academic faculty, at which time we will ask questions concerning why you wish to study at the academy, and if you have any long-term plans for your career, and some of the experiences you've had in the past learning music. Also, we'd be curious to find out if you are applying for music in JUPAS or what other subjects you might be interested in, other schools you might be applying to, and any questions that you might have of our program. Again, you can ask us at that time. You also will have a sight singing test and a rhythm test as well when you come for that final interview. And Dr. Tang has also posted in the chat the link, again, to the APA website that she was trying to do the share screen earlier. So the link is right there. So you've got two important links that you can use in case you need the further information. Any questions about the admissions process or types of things you'll be asked to do? I guess one of the questions we sometimes ask is if you've taken any ABRSM theory and if you have grade 5, or ideally maybe grade 8 would be helpful. The type of tests you would be taking when you come as part of the application procedure would be sort of equivalent to what we would expect a diploma in music foundations graduate to already be able to achieve. So we're testing to see if we can place you directly into the Bachelor of Music program, or if you have weaknesses that need to be remedied, of course, then the foundation diploma is perhaps ideal for you. And of course, the distinction between the Bachelor and the Diploma in Music Foundations will also depend on your public exam results, especially your DSE scores. As we've gone through, you need a 3 for English and for Chinese for the Bachelor program. Any further questions? Don't be shy. Some have joined a little bit late into the meeting, which is fine, of course, but if you have a question, but you worry we already answered it earlier, it's okay to ask. I'm happy to repeat any of the content from earlier today.
Oh, I received a question from Jamie, who asked, can I still enroll if my musical instrument fails to reach level 8 or above? I think you refer to ABRSM grade 8, is that right? For some department, grade 8 is the minimal requirement. But if for vocal studies, they did not spell out which level, but it also really depends on the audition. So when you come, if they think that you have already attained that level, that should be fine.
And one of the other questions that was just asked about the junior music program of the APA. So there's no particular advantage if you are a junior music student. I suppose perhaps if you've taken the ear training and the theory classes, the types of materials that you'll be tested on at the entrance may seem more familiar to you. But I actually don't teach in the junior program. I don't know any of the junior students. So I'm kind of evaluating you all equally on equal footing. So there's no distinct advantage. You may know some of the faculty already, and usually junior music students feel like they're a bit at home at the academy already. So they're quite familiar with that setting. But the fact that you are not a junior student does not mean you have equal opportunity to get into the program. So we accept many students who are not junior music students. And the question again about the ABRSM exam, there's no minimum grade level required. It's just helpful if you've taken the exam and passed it, it's more about the repertoire standard or the level of repertoire we might expect you to send in your preliminary audition should be at the grade 8 level if possible. But don't worry about actually submitting your exam results or test results. So if you're thinking of what types of pieces you might be preparing for your audition, you should be looking at maybe the syllabus list for the ABRSM grade 8. That's it, but don't worry if you don't have a distinction or you haven't taken the exam in particular. It's more about the standard of the repertoire. We don't demand that you turn in an ABRSM result as part of the application procedure. If you have it, that's great. You can include it, of course, in your application. But it's not mandatory. It's not a requirement. Some great questions. Any more questions? This is a challenge for me, waking me up in the morning to answer questions concerning admissions. I guess just to give you a little bit more insight into the program, I could mention some of what we would say would be your capstone projects or performances as part of your experience. All of the performance majors, both for Chinese music, Western music, and voice, we have some kind of major exams that happen at the end of your program. Of course, the capstone for the performance program is a graduation recital. So you will be giving a full-length recital of your own and collaborating, of course, with pianists and other chamber musicians. in your final semester of your final year. In the first semester of the final year, there's also a concerto examination. So you will need to perform a complete concerto for your specialization instrument. There are other rather important examinations that happen in the major study area in the third year as well, an orchestral excerpts exam for orchestral players, and a concert aria exam for singers in particular. For the composers, ultimately, you are producing quite a substantial portfolio of works over your 4 years. Not all of the works need to be composed in the final year. All of your portfolio now we're assembling your best works over the years, but that must include solo work, chamber work. I believe it also can include computer music or electroacoustic piece. You also need an orchestral work. One of the exciting things about the composition department to me is that all of your works get performed. We have the performers and the interdisciplinary artists to actually perform your works. So they don't just sit in MIDI files all the time. You'll have a chance to collaborate with live musicians for live performances, which will be recorded and included as part of your portfolio. The biggest opportunity, of course, will be also in your later years when you would compose a work for orchestra. And the orchestra, usually during the winter term, between the first and second semester, will set aside a week to read through all of the composer's new latest works and to record it as well, to include as part of your portfolio work. So you will get the experience to write for very large ensembles as well. Even if you haven't had that experience or you don't have that body of work currently, if you're perhaps studying DSE music, maybe you are assembling a portfolio of compositions. But don't worry, because over your 4 years, you'll get opportunities to write for ensembles and groups that you might not have previously worked with before. Yes, so we've got a question a little bit about the difference between studying at the academy versus studying in the universities. And another question about how many students are admitted each year in the School of Music. Maybe Dr. Tang, do you want to share your thoughts on the difference between APA and the university? I'll also add a little bit, but
sure, yeah. If you're a student at APA, you would be expected to do a lot of practical-based courses, like your performance and your workshop and your concert practice. So you will spend a lot of time practicing with your fellow students as well as yourself. But if you are in the university studying music, probably you will have a combination of practical and also very academic work, and also other subjects in other schools or departments. So I think that's the main difference. And also, if you are a student of APA, you will definitely get a lot of performances. And you will, if you're a composer, you will need to write a lot of pieces to get performed. And so if you're a performer, you will get a lot of opportunity to perform inside and outside of APA.
yeah, one of the questions sometimes people ask at the interview is, how often will I have to perform when I come to the APA? Every week, if not every day. So you will have one-to-one lessons, your own practice, of course, but between concert practice and chamber ensembles and the orchestra rehearsals, it's impossible to go a day without being on one of the stages, I think, for performance, or at least in a practice room or a studio with your collaborative peers. So it's the main difference here is your entire degree or education is practice-based, and that is the main focus. I suppose maybe compared to other universities as well, most of the subjects you're focusing on are music related or in the subject area of music. Of course, I mentioned we have language for Chinese and English, but even the English course in the languages department is a course called Writing for Music. So it's a course where you're actually generating spoken presentations, program notes, bilingual, both in English and Chinese, your CVs, your posters. So it's a course that's still focused on the subject of music, and you won't have many other subjects of sciences or maths or gym and things like this that you might have if you study in the university system. But when you do complete the degree, you are graduating with a bachelor degree. So it is a tertiary level accredited degree. So there's no concern the fact that we're not a university. You are graduating with a qualification that can very well take you overseas for master's studies or directly into the profession. And in terms of how many students are admitted to the School of Music, the number varies. It fluctuates up and down, if that's, I guess, sort of normal, but usually I've seen the number between 60 and 75 students. I guess I have to think carefully because I don't teach in the Chinese music department, so, but I think the total number should be around 70. But if it's a great year and we've got qualified applicants, we have taken more. And if it's been a tough year and there's fewer students or the DSE results, the DSE tests were hard, then sometimes there's been fewer students. But of course, we always have that Diploma in Music Foundations as an option for you to consider if you can't go directly to the Bachelor of Music program. But the school currently now has just over 300 students, I think. That includes Diploma of Music Foundations, the Bachelor of Music program, both Chinese and Western, as well as the Master's program. So the complete number is just over 300, which is quite a few students, but still we have around 25 full-time faculty, plus many part-time specialists for the different instrument specializations. So I'd say the teacher to student ratio is quite impressive for us. Might be another difference between studying at APA and the university is that you will develop a very close connection with your major teacher, your department head, and with the advisors of the academic faculty. We know all of you, even when it's a class where you're all together in the same cohort of 50, 60 students. We're not so big that you will be lost. I think generally this is another bonus of studying at the academy. I've studied in other music universities where there's hundreds of students in a theory class and nobody really knows the teachers, and we maybe had a one-to-one lesson, but less frequently as you would at the academy. And it's still okay. It's just a different type of environment where it's mostly based on large classroom lecture teaching, whereas we are more small studio tutorial style institution.
Oh, there's another question, which is directly to me. Who asks about how many students are admitted each year in the keyboard studies?
Oh, for keyboard, I think anywhere between 8 to 10. I'm just thinking because one of the requirements for the keyboardists is they must take, in our curriculum for the bachelor degree, you must study another keyboard instrument. So either you've got to study clavichord, harpsichord, pipe organ, or forte piano. We also have an improvisation course for continual improvisation, the Baroque improvisation. And if you're in your second year of the bachelor degree or the third year of your bachelor degree, you must complete those requirements. And in those two cohorts, there's about 7 or 8 students in each of those years. So I think between 7, 8, I've seen it a little bit higher, up to 10, but I've also seen it lower. It partly depends on the overall number of students in the department across all 4 years, including the other programs, the master and the diploma. But generally, the numbers are quite healthy, and there's around 20, 25 pianists in the department at any given time.
Any more questions?
Well, we will have another session today at 3 o'clock. So if you do think of questions and you wish to Zoom and join in again later, you're welcome, of course, to join. You can also forward questions. I'm going to stay in the chat for a little bit longer. So if you wish, you can still send questions. We did have one more question about violin, I guess also in terms of student numbers. For strings, the number would be higher generally, between 10 to 15, I think, or around 10, I should maybe say, for violin entrance. But part of it has to do with resources. Pianists need pianos, so we have a limited number of pianos, and for that reason, and a limited number of practice rooms. So the number of entering pianists is usually less. But for strings, I think it should be around 10 violin. More, including viola and cello as a total.
Oh, there's a question. You can send to everyone so that everyone can see that. So it says, how about associate degree of keyboard studies? I'm not sure I understand your question correctly. Oh, the number of admissions. So you mean the music foundation of our program? Again, it varies. It really varies on the standard of each year. And so this year was a small number. I remember there was under 10 that joined the Diploma of Foundation. And we admit actually more than we expected for the Bachelor of Music. So it depends on the standard of students. So I can't say there's a certain number. Did I answer your question?
And one thing to maybe also realize is that even though there's a diploma, there's a bachelor, there's a master's, it's not separated in practice. So you will have classes with diploma students, bachelor students, and master students all mixed together. Very frequently, the string quartet may consist of a master student playing with an undergraduate and master students working or coaching even the diploma students. So just because you're in a particular program doesn't mean you're isolated with just that cohort. You will get to know everyone across all of the programs. And the typical route would be after completing the Diploma of Music Foundations, provided you do well in that program, then it gives you a path to go into the bachelor degree immediately after. And the bachelor degree would still be 4 years. So you're looking at that additional year. It's a 5th year if you do the diploma. But having...
Any other questions? Yeah, sorry, Shay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, having taught at the Academy for 17 years now, one thing I can say is if your application is well put together and you play at a reasonable standard, even if you have some weaknesses, whether it be academic or whether it's ear training or music theory, the School of Music will work very hard to get you accepted into the program and help remedy those weaknesses. So there's always options for you to build on the skills that you might be lacking currently. So don't be positive and put forward your best application and acknowledge what might be a weakness, and it's okay. We're not all going to have a perfect admission or application process, and part of your education is recognizing what you need to build on and letting us help you do that. Great. Well, if there's no more questions, I guess we sort of have gone our full hour here on Zoom. I hope, wish you all the best with your decisions and also, I guess, your current studies. I presume most of you would be secondary school students now. So best of luck with your academic work in your school, and I hope to meet you in person someday if you do decide to apply to the academy. If you have any, you're welcome to go now. We'll conclude today's session. I'll stick around for another couple minutes in case anyone wants to still add a chat question. But at this point, I think we are finished the main part of the presentation, so you're free to exit the meeting now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I have just admitted a couple of people in the chat in our session. So if you guys want to ask some questions, you're welcome. But in fact, we have already ended our session.